This video is part 2 of the video my husband Adam and I did about why we decided to have kids. In part 1, we explored why we didn't want to have kids, why we changed our minds. Was it a hard decision? Was it good timing? Were we mentally prepared? If you missed part 1, you can check it out. The link to the video is in the description down below. Now let's jump into the conversation. How soon did I get pregnant? This is funny because I called all the friends that I had that recently had kids and asked questions and research and all these things. And then I had this friend, I remember, Stephanie, if you watch this, it was you, Stephanie Camero. So I asked her, I was like, hey, how soon do you get pregnant? And she's like, oh no, it took me a while. We're actually trying for a while. Because supposedly you have, and I found that in the internet also, it says that supposedly when you are doing birth control for a long time, it takes a long time to get pregnant. So in my head, I was like, okay, I can start in January. I have time to plan other things because I was thinking about like health insurance and then money and all these things. So I was like, okay, I'll figure that out because I have a couple of months. I stopped. We had this conversation on December 31st.
That's what I was saying earlier.
I stopped it.
Once we talked about it, literally the very next day, January 1st, we're like, okay, we're going to stop.
New year, new
step number 1, stop birth control. So we said, okay, we're going to stop birth control tomorrow. And literally that's what we did.
Everything was so perfect. I try to like see signs and then like pay attention to the universe. So it was like that week was the end of my cycle. So I'm like, perfect. So I just don't start my birth control tomorrow.
And guys, please, biologically everybody's different. I know, there might be somebody watching this video that has been trying for months or years to get pregnant and hasn't been able to. Please always consult your doctor. We're not doctors. This is just our story.
What happened
this is just what happened to us. I feel like we were very fortunate, and please don't feel bad. Everybody has their own situation, so please always consult medical people about those things. But in our case, we were saying we stopped it on January 1st. We started trying. Once we got pregnant, obviously going to the different appointments. Nowadays, it's very easy to pinpoint exact size and weeks and all that stuff. And we literally sat down and did the math. According to the math, January 1st, we stopped the pills. January 24th, we got pregnant. According to the math that the doctors, that
I got pregnant.
OBGYN, she got pregnant. The whole like, oh, we got a couple of months to figure this out the window. It was 23 days later and we were pregnant.
That's the first child. So I'm expecting my second child.
With this one, it was a whole nother ball.
I stopped my birth control and I got pregnant supposedly the very next day, technically. The next 3 days I got pregnant.
We when we decided, hey, we're gonna try for baby number 2, we know for a fact it was on the very first time we tried, we got pregnant for baby number 2.
Week, I say. Yeah. The next question is, how did we prepare to start having kids? You didn't really prepare anything, did you?
Thank you.
Did you prepare anything? To me, it was more concerning the health insurance and then the money, and that was my preparation. So with the health insurance, I'm gonna make another video about like all the things that we did.
Definitely watch that video. You'll get some very helpful information, especially anybody going through financial problems. We're very fortunate to do our research. She is very good at doing research. To know the different options that you have, so that way, because a lot of people freak out, oh my God, we're pregnant, what are we going to do? And it's amazing to know all the different resources that are available, and it's a quick phone call or a quick Google search, and you would be amazed. It's also a lot of work. But you would be amazed at how many resources are actually available that people don't even know. Like, we've gone to multiple fairs and stuff, and I don't want to get too much into it because that's a whole other video, but we've gone to multiple places now, especially now with baby number 2, that we were like, we didn't know this stuff existed. And I think it's very informative to know, especially if you're one of those couples that are just, out of nowhere, oh, we're pregnant, and you don't know what to do or where to begin. Hopefully that other video will help you guys out with that. We took, and we don't, again, we're not medical professionals. We don't know if this actually worked or had any factor.
It's something that we did.
We did it just because, and we're not trying to recommend it or anything like that, but in case anybody's curious. So it was 3 different things. You were taking the fertility tea, which is it's tea that you drink.
You just drink it.
You were also taking a pill.
It was the same brand, and they had some pills for me and for him.
His and hers fertility pills, and
it's not only fertility. It was like the main reason I was taking it, according to my research.
I think it was called conception, right? Something like that.
Conception, yeah. So the reason it was because it supposedly helps the sperm to have better quality, and then also for the eggs to prepare you to have better quality of eggs and like all these things that you need when you have a baby. I just wanted to make sure that I had a healthy kid. I know it has a lot to do with your genes and whatever you did in the past, and
there's many more factors,
your body
involved in that. But,
but in my head I was like, okay, if this is real, then I'll take it. And he actually was very willing, and you were taking it every day, very like on time.
We'll never know if it actually helped or not, unfortunately. But if you are a believer and you guys want to check out the stuff in the description, you're more than welcome to. That's what we did. I was taking the pills, she was taking the pills and drinking the tea. And we didn't do it for that long. Like we said, it was only 23 days between
we started
deciding and getting pregnant, but we did all that throughout that time. So and there's a lot of other things in preparation for again, it's too much information for this video, but there's a lot of things to be for preparing for when the baby's actually coming. All the different appointments you got to go to, all the different things, local charities and stuff to help you out, even down to which baby registries are better and why we think they're better. Because again, from our personal experience, the things that helped us out, especially on the financial side, being able to make the proper decisions and not getting a bunch of repeat gifts, and knowing how to handle the gifts and returns and exchanges and all that stuff. And there's a lot of registries that give you free stuff that you think, oh, that's just, who cares? But it's stuff that we actually use. Helps. It's actually very helpful things, especially for the women that are going through the actual pregnancy. Things that are very minimal, but they help.
And classes and
different
support.
Classes.
So next question.
Oh, sorry, to answer the question, I didn't prepare anything. I just, whatever she said we needed to do, I did, and I'm very willing though. That's the willingness is what's important.
Why we wanted to have 2 kids?
Like I mentioned earlier, I grew up an only child. I always hated it. Not that there was anything wrong with it. It's just I always wanted a big sister.
Your mom tried. It was just,
that's
didn't work out.
I was an only child, not by choice. My parents did try multiple times. God had a different plan. So
out of 7, which is
out of 7.
I can't even believe that story.
Out of 7 pregnancies, I was pregnancy number 5. I still miss them, and I still always many times I would kind of go down the deep end of like why I never got to meet them and why they weren't around and how my life would be different. And in her case, she had that experience. She grew up with an older sister, and her point of view was, well, I know what it's like to have a sibling. I know the benefits. I'm sure there were headaches too.
She was 6 years older than me, and it was more craziness than any other thing because we're so different, and I mean personalities are different, but also the age gap and I don't know, a lot of factors. But I still felt that having a sibling was so important. When I lost my dad, I was 18 years old, And I felt like at that moment is when I started understanding, because I was always complaining about my sister and she's annoying and da 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 da. But then when I felt that emptiness inside of me, and I had so many people around me, but it's still, I felt lonely. I didn't want to talk to anybody about my dad passing away, and I actually didn't. Nobody knew. I mean, barely anybody. But I had my sister, and we didn't have to talk. We were just looking at each other, and we knew how we felt. It's is that support, that other person that feels the same you're feeling, that you don't need to talk about it, you don't need words. Is that phone call at 2 a.m, like we can kill, like try to kill each other and be into like fighting all day, but then I will like know if I call her at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and I tell her, hey, jump in a plane, come here, I have a problem, she will do it. She just go, no matter how mad she is at me. So I thought like that was very important for a
Yeah,
person.
there's multiple videos and memes and stuff all
Uh-huh.
throughout the internet that talk about that. Like, you don't have sibling, or you don't have multiple kids for you as a parent. You have multiple kids for them, so that they have that companionship and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I talking about the exact same thing. I lost my mother as well, some years back, and
I
I
was there, but I
yeah,
wasn't.
she was there, but she was there for that moral, like, hey, I'm here for
Yeah,
you, but not, she couldn't,
it's not the same.
she couldn't give me the comfort. Yeah, the
Yeah, the
comfort.
comfort is
Nobody could give me that because I didn't have a sibling or anybody to share that with. You know, the only person who could really do that, was technically my dad, but you know, that's his ex-wife. It's weird, it's different. You know, he did give me a little bit of comfort, but not in the same way that I'm sure a sibling would have, because you don't, when you're siblings, you have that, um, what's the word I'm looking for? You have that similarity, that similar life experience of like, okay, we both share the same parent or parents, and we know what those parents mean to each other. And of course, I'm just talking from what I see, not from personal experience, because I didn't have that. So,
Mhm.
um, I always, like I mentioned before, that's the plan that I originally had with my son, that I didn't want him to be alone. And I never said I don't want to have just one child, or I want to have multiple kids. My philosophy had always been, I don't want my son to grow up alone. Unfortunately, because of the age gap, no matter how much no matter what type of relationship they end up having, there's always going to be that
Yeah.
distance, in age
And
and
also the cities. I mean,
oh
we
yeah,
live so
physical
far
physical
away.
distance also, that we're in two different states. But and obviously when you're growing up, I mean, even her having a smaller age gap with her sister, you have the differences of like, well, one's in high school, the other one's in middle school, and one's going to parties, and the other one's watching cartoons at home, and one can do this, and the other one can do that, and
And she's
but
the moon and I'm the sun. I don't
yeah,
know. We're so different.
but in general, for all the other stuff, especially now that they're both older and have their own
Yeah.
kids and all that stuff, you're always going to have that companionship that's never going to
That bone.
equate to anything else. Like nothing else, I should say it the other way around. Nothing else will ever equate to that companionship. And for those of you watching this that have siblings, I'm sure you guys can relate to that. So we always said, like when we first talked about it, we talked about, well, that was one of the questions. Well, how many do you want to have? Realistically, again, everybody's different. We said we want to have two. We said that two is more than enough. We did, we're also not crazy, and we know the financial hardship it would be to have more than two.
Yeah. If I was the
Um,
Kardashians, I would have four with
yeah,
nannies and stuff.
yeah. If we had a whole bunch of money, I would probably wouldn't mind
Consider it
having
at least.
multiple, even more kids.
Okay, there was one thing that I didn't say about why we wanted to have two. I had like three friends in my childhood, and when I was in college, that were only children, and I don't know if this is true. It was just so different. I don't want to talk bad, but
So
it was so different. Like they're very jealous and
yeah,
they feel so important, and you have to give all this attention to them.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I will say this. Speaking from personal experience, I am mature enough to admit that I agree with that philosophy
you're an
because
only child.
I'm an only child. I grew up extremely needy, and now that I'm 38 years old, I'm still needy. I still yearn for attention. I still, need to have acknowledgement. I'm a very codependent person. Um, when it comes to emotionally, I'm emotionally codependent, um, and luckily it didn't stick, but I definitely grew up a very spoiled little brat who did not value money and did not care. And I learned at a very early age to not be that way because I started working when I was 14, back when it wasn't illegal to work that early. So at a very early age, I started earning money and learning how to deal with my own money. So luckily, the spoiled part went away fairly quickly,
Not
and I
100%, but
yeah, not 100%. Now that I'm older, I spoil myself.
next question. When did we start to plan the new baby? We wanted to have the kids back to back because we had these other two children that we were, I mean, the kids that we got custody of. So they're actually 4 and 5 years old. They, I guess their mom got, yeah, today. Back in those days, they were 2 and 3. And doing the numbers, their mom probably got pregnant when she was 3 months postpartum from the first one. But it was such an amazing experience having them like grow up together and then snitching at each other, and then, oh, she did this, she's not supposed to, and then I'm like, oh, thank you. And also like they play together, they do a lot of things together. I don't know, I just felt that it was like the right choice. The recommendation from doctors was to wait 12 months at least to get pregnant.
For your body to recuperate.
I was very concerned about the age gap and all of that. So we were in it was an event.
We went to some family. We saw a woman that had 2 kids,
and I thought they were twins.
Yeah, they were so close that we thought they were twins.
So, but one of them was a little taller, and I'm like, are they actually twins? So I actually I went and talked to her, and I was asking questions, and she tells me, look, because I was like, if they're not twins, how long did you wait? Did you have any complications? All these things. And she said, look, I'm a doctor, and if you are my patient, I will tell you that you have to wait 12 months because that's what the books say, you know? But if you didn't have a C-section, if you didn't have any complications, what else did she say? Nothing else, right?
No, it was just like if you had a healthy pregnancy.
Oh, if your baby wasn't premature.
Yeah.
Like it was 40 weeks.
Full term, premature, no C-section, no issues, no nothing, which thankfully that was our case.
You can do it when your baby turns 6 months old. Yeah, and also 6 months is usually how much it takes for the postpartum. So she said you can finish your postpartum and plan the next baby, and that's exactly. Oh, and also I was concerned about the age because I was like, okay, also I'm 35. I was already 35 when I got pregnant. 34. 34. So I said, I'm 34, I'm getting closer to the 35, so I'm concerned. And she said, look, I had these 2 kids when I was 40 and I'm good. So she said, I cannot tell you, nothing is gonna go wrong, but if that's your concern and you're not my patient, I would say you're good to go. And that's what we did. I literally, the day my baby turned 6 months old, I stopped my birth control, and we already talked about it. We got pregnant
right away.
Like that same week.
The kids that are with us, well, the boy who's older, he started kindergarten already, so he's already in school. While the girl who's a year younger, she's still in daycare. So you're always going to have that, for example, when he transitions to middle school and she's still in elementary, when he goes to high school and she's still in middle school, when he graduates and she's still in school, you're always going to have that little bit of a gap. But I think it's a much more manageable situation. And
So
if
financially, it can't be. I mean, I can see it in the picture that it sometimes it can be a problem because obviously you're gonna have a graduation this year. Hopefully, if they both are
oh
good
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
school, then you have another graduation
So
next year, or I don't know, a lot of things that are gonna be like back to back. But like right now that we're potentially gonna have two kids, I'm using the same crib, the same bassinet, and I don't have to like 3 years later either keep the stuff for like too long and space in your house and all these things, or selling everything and rebuying it again.
yeah.
So
So some people have that ability, and if you do, great. We have friends who, um, they had their kids had like a 5 or 6 year gap, and but they had the ability of holding on to everything, and they put everything in the attic and or in the
garage.
garage, and they were able to hold on to all these things, and that's great. If you're able to do that, awesome.
We didn't want to do it.
Realistically, we're not we don't like cluster. We don't like to do that, and so we were like, well, so by the time our first kid is outgrowing something like the bassinet or the crib or whatever, well, here comes baby number 2
Mhm.
about to use it, so we don't have to worry about putting anything away for an extended period of time. We don't have to worry about buying something new,
Mhm.
this and that. And then if you're really smart about it, because obviously we can't control, nobody can control what sex the baby's going to be. If you have the ability, try to buy gender neutral things, clothing. You're like, okay, let's say you have a
A
daughter.
crib, a
Let's say
stroller.
you have a daughter. Your urge. You're like, oh, I want to buy this pink stroller because it's pink, and I have a baby girl, and I want it to be so beautiful and cute, and I want to get all these bows, or not even the color, or like, oh, I want to buy this crib that has all these unicorns and these girly
Flowers
things and
and
flowers because, oh, we have a daughter. But then here comes baby number 2, and like, oh crap, we're gonna have a boy. So now it's like, well, this is a perfectly awesome crib because it's still practically brand new, but it's full of
I
unicorns
mean, you
and
can still use
and
it,
stuff.
but
You can still use it, but let's be honest, it's not the same thing. Or you have all this clothes, or you have
mhm.
all this thing that's for a girl, but now you're having a boy, or you bought all this boy stuff, and now you're having a girl. Our opinion, that's what we did: buy neutral things, buy a white,
Jungle stuff.
yeah,
So
jungle
it's like
stuff, or
animals,
like
galaxies. I
yeah,
mean, girls and boys
the
can like
bedding,
that.
for the crib, or like whenever we had to pick a color, we would pick white, gray, black, with clothing, with strollers,
Mostly gray and
with
white.
kids. Yeah, because it's still pretty. You can still make it look good in your
Mhm.
house, but you don't have that worry of whether or not it's for a boy or for a
Mhm.
girl. It works for both.
And you can just add something like, like if you have a crib and you want to add something girly, uh, I don't know, you can get like pillows or like the bedding or
Yeah,
something pink, but not
exactly.
the whole crib.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then same thing with the clothing. Try to be as neutral as possible. Like, for example, your grays, your blacks, maybe even your greens, stuff like
Yellow.
that.
There's so many
Yellows.
colors, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of colors that they work both ways. First baby came around, we did a traditional baby shower where we did a registry. We picked all these different things, all this stuff. We picked neutral colors and neutral themes, but we needed a crib, we needed a stroller, we needed a bassinet, we needed all this stuff. But then here comes baby number 2, and we just said, hey guys, we don't need anything specific. If you want to help us out, uh, just give us a gift card, because we
Yeah.
knew that we had. I mean, why do I need to buy a whole new bassinet or ask for a
Yeah.
whole new bassinet if I got the old one that's still practically new? I
Hmm.
mean, The
There's
baby,
no,
yeah,
like literally.
the baby's only in the bassinet for less than 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then why am I going to buy another crib if I have it now? If you have twins and stuff like that, that's a different story. But
Yeah.
but for the most part, you buy this, and then you start learning different things, and I'm sure we'll probably make another video about that. But
Mm-hmm.
you start learning what works, what doesn't work, and stuff like that. And if you're smart about it, the second that you know you're going to have another kid, especially once you get pregnant, you don't have to wait and have 27 different strollers. You can make that decision. Well, we know another baby's coming. Let's sell this stroller and get a different stroller that's a double stroller, or that has the ability, or what we did, you get a wagon, because the wagon has a car seat accessory where you can put the car seat and
Just be
still
smart
have.
about it, and we
Yeah,
will make a
try.
lot of videos about
Yeah,
how
yeah,
to like mistakes that we made.
yeah.
Also,
We made a lot of mistakes. We know nobody's
we
perfect.
tried. We didn't want to make mistakes, and I was like, I did
Yeah,
so much research, but still, like things didn't work out the way I wanted.
yeah.
Um,
But all we're trying to say is, if you know you want to have multiple children, and God willing, if that's what you want, that's what you get. Try to make your financial decisions with that in mind. Like, will this thing that I'm buying for baby number one, if we end up having baby number two, will it also incorporate baby number two? Or is this going to cause me more of a financial burden by getting this one cool little thing that I'm going to have to buy two of because I can't use it with baby number two?
or deal with it.
Yeah, or deal with it, or vice versa, or oh, this is so beautiful and it costs $100, but it's only for a girl, and I have no idea if baby number two is going to be a boy or not. Do I really want to spend all that money on this one thing that you're never going to be able to use again for baby number two? Try to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're done with the questions. There is one question that I know you didn't want me to ask.
No.
I'm still gonna ask. If you don't have an answer, that's okay. Why do you want to have kids with me? The reason I put that question is because to me it was very important, like my entire life, as a planner that I am. Sometimes I don't plan, but I was always looking at people, or the people that I dated, like, okay, is this a smart person? How are the genes? Are there a lot of, like, what type of sicknesses do you guys have in your family? Obviously nobody's perfect. There's nobody that is gonna have like a perfect checklist, because I do know I have friends that have this long checklist and nobody matches that, so they're always alone, and I'm like, that's never gonna happen. At least the things that they're non-negotiable to you, I think that's important. Make a list of what's non-negotiable. So to me, somebody that had common sense, that was non-negotiable.
Common sense isn't so common.
Isn't so common. So it doesn't give me a card to say, oh, my kids are gonna have common sense, but at least if as a family we both try to have it, then my kids are probably gonna get it, right? I mean, you're not always lucky, but at least that was something that I didn't want to negotiate. Also, to me, it was important to have somebody that can provide any type of knowledge to my kids. So I never thought that was a thing, but I actually have a friend who told me, like, recently, she was like, I don't care if my husband or that my baby daddy doesn't have anything to teach him, or if he's not smart, and to me, I grew up with my dad technically raised me because my mom was working 3 jobs and my dad was a very smart person. So as a child, to see somebody who had so much knowledge, and actually now as an adult, I look back and I'm like, all these things that I'm doing as a mom, as a wife, as a house owner, as a professional, as many things, I look back and I see my parents and how each of them gave me something to be the person that I am today. So to me, it was a very important thing. So you didn't know, but for years I was kind of like, all those years I was like, I don't want to have kids. I was also kind of like watching, like, okay, if we have kids, does he have something to teach them? Is he gonna be present? Is he going to be somebody they're gonna admire? Or like all these things that to me was so important as a child. Also education. I know there are people that are against education. I believe in education. I had the opportunity to go to college, and I'm like, if I'm with somebody that doesn't believe in that, I don't want that for my kids. Like that person telling my kids, "Hey, you don't need to go to school to." And yes, let's not get into that. But to me, it was important to have somebody who at least thinks it's okay to go to school, right? So that's, I'm not gonna get into it because it's a lot of things, a lot of factors, a lot of like, I don't know, I had this long checklist, but I had this like non-negotiable. And that day that I was like, that December, like trying to make a decision, I was literally looking at list, and I was like, is he fitting into this non-negotiable stuff that I want for a family? You passed.
So there's an actual list?
There is an actual list. So you passed.
We're on baby number 2. I don't think it matters if I pass or not at this point.
Yeah. So I think that covered a lot of like stuff about trying to make a decision if you want to have kids, if you don't, planning, future. I don't have any more questions. Do you have anything you want to say?
No. So guys, just anybody watching this video, we hope that this is just our story. We're not pushing you to or from any idea that you may or may not have. We just hope that listening to our story will help you make a better decision. If not for anything else, we hope this interview was nice and entertaining for you. Thank you guys for joining us.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.